Ask your thoughts on Brian Lennon getting called up to the Senior Ireland squad.
Fantastic, little step up from going from this league to the Premier League. Just shows that young lads playing in this league, you don't need to be in England. He's made a big jump to the Premier League, and obviously getting that call up, we're all delighted for him, and it just shows Cork had a good season this year, and he's reaping the benefits.
You've seen him up close in training quite a bit. You're not surprised given the amount of talent that he has that he's having call up?
No, and he's only going to learn more. He's really receptive, listens to the coaches and wants to learn as well, which is good for a young lad. I think he'll go over there and keep his head down and work as hard as he can. I don't think he's one of them lads that's gone over now and thinks he's made it already. He'll be willing to work hard, and I could see him going on to great things hopefully.
Just looking back at last Friday's game, you made it a lot harder for yourselves than you should have really, didn't you?
Yeah, I think they went down to 10 men and they had a good spell with 10 men. We probably didn't use the ball the way we should have. Then they scored a goal and it was backs against the wall really, and just hope that we get the win. But our objective going into the game was 3 points. We got the 3 points, so we're happy and we march on really.
And you're keeping the pressure on Dundalk every week as well, which is vitally important.
That's it, exactly. And we knew they weren't playing a game, which was even more so to get the 3 points to go back level at the top, and the kind of pressure is with them now again. So it's up to us to do our own jobs. We're doing that at the minute, and we just got to hope that they slip up. If they don't slip up, we'll shake their hands and fair dues to them. The best team will win the league. But yeah, as I said, the pressure's back on them now. There's more league medals in our dressing room than theirs. They're a young enough team, so anything can happen.
There's talk of winning the title banned in the dressing room. Where do you discuss it?
No, well, there's only 3 games left, but all season I only came halfway through. But as John has said, all the way through the season, forget about what's gone, forget about what's coming, stay in the present. It's about the next training session, the next game, which is UCD. So we'll just be thinking about that. We can only do our own jobs really. We can't have any say on what Dundalk are going to do, how they play, who they play. Once we keep winning and getting 3 points on the board, we just got to hope something happens. If nothing does, as I say, we just get on with it.
Heading up to UCD now, Friday, a place that you don't have too many happy memories of.
Yeah, that's an incentive for us to go up and to kind of get rid of that hoodoo or that little thing that's hanging over us up in UCD. But they're always a sticky team because there's never any pressure on them. They go out and play football. You've seen it when we played them at home. They went 1 goal up. They went down to 10 men and they kept playing football the whole way through, even with 10 men. So they're a tough team to play, and a team that probably has no pressure on them, and they can go out and enjoy their football. But it's up to us to start well as we done on Friday night. I think in the games that we have started well, we don't give teams a chance really, and it was great the other night to get the first goal and kind of set us up, and Marky got a great second goal. So we're going up there with all confidence and hopefully taking another 3 points.
John, I suppose if Dundalk after slip up, it could be this weekend because we've had it before. They're playing 2 matches in 3 days. I suppose Rovers probably owed them one at this stage as well. So do you think this could be the weekend when they'll actually will slip up?
Well, we're all hoping that it is. They've got tough games coming up. We've played Athlone away, and they're a decent outfit as well. They play football, so it could be a knock-on effect if they slip up this weekend. It drags into the next weekend. So as I say, we've got to deal with our own jobs, which is UCD on Friday, and then we'll be hoping that something happens in the background.
You had Europe there last week, so how much are you looking forward to playing in Europe again next season?
That's fantastic. It's another step up for the club. The aim this season was to finish higher than last season. I've had some great trips to Europe, and the club and the fans. So to be back in that competition is great, and that's probably thinking a bit too far ahead now. As I said, we're trying to stick in the present, and UCD Friday night is the real crunch for us.
Any fears about playing on UCD? I know it's a different pitch, but that bad injury. It was your first major injury, really, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
A long time ago, but it
was a long time ago. Yeah, sure. I've played against UCD a load of times after that. Yeah, So it's something that I don't think of. You could probably say that how many hat-tricks have I scored against UCD as well, so will I get a hat-trick on Friday night, you know? But, you know, it will be, as I say, they're a tough outfit, and, you know, it's never an easy place to go to. Especially up there, it was different playing, you know, the old UCD ground. But, you know,
is that the problem? That's the problem. The small crowds and
yeah. Well, you could say the same against Limerick, but it's, you know, they're the kind of games where you have to dig inside yourself and, you know, make your own atmosphere. And, you know, we done that twice up in Limerick this season, so I don't see why UCD would be any different.
Yeah, well, they're on the board on as well at the moment. They've only won once in 12 games or something.
Yeah, but you know, I don't think form comes into it with UCD. As I say, they're a college team with young lads who just play ball on Friday night. You know, it's different for us. We have the pressure. We have, you know, we're actually going for a league title. They have the pressure really of just, you know, turning up and going out and actually playing football. Yeah. And they'll continue to play football no matter if they're down to 10, if they're 3-0 down. It's just something that they do. And, you know, in all fairness, it's a good way to play with, you know, that kind of freedom. Yeah. But, you know, we have a job to do on Friday, and we'll do it the best we can.
First off, what are your thoughts on Brian Lennon getting the call up to the senior squad?
Yeah, it's fantastic for Brian. Look, it's I suppose it's an unbelievable achievement. I suppose what people mightn't have realised that when Brian transferred to Hull, he joined when the international break was on the last time. But he went straight into training with the first team players that weren't in with international teams, and obviously Steve Bruce was there at that particular time, and he trained probably that week, and I think he did very well. And you know, since he's gone over, he's been training with the first team, and obviously there's a few injury situations, but you know, there's no doubt, I suppose, in my mind that if we had foreign managers in charge of the Irish team, he wouldn't be called up. I think it's obvious, you know, that particularly with Martin O'Neill in charge, and obviously with the Roy connection, has certainly helped. But for Lenny and for the club, it's a massive honour, and look, we're all delighted for him.
Is it slightly insulting to the league that he doesn't get a call up until he's gone across the water, so to speak?
I would say no. You know, I'm around a long time. You know, it's a bit like people's perception, and we've had lots of good players in this league over the years, and we continue to have that as well. But at the same time, you know, the standard between our league and the Premier League in England is massive. The international football is massive. But what it shows is that I'm very positive. What it shows is that the real pluses are that we've had a lot of players who come through this club, and they've gone on to huge achievements. I suppose the brilliant thing about Lenny is that it just shows again another local player came through, got his chance, and got a fantastic move. And the move to Hull at the time was a great move for Lenny, great move for us, great move for you know, I suppose for the image of the league, and to have a guy from us that would end up with a Premiership club, and more importantly would end up with a manager like Steve Bruce, who ran the club on numerous occasions, spoke to myself, who really wanted him, you know, which was fantastic. But I suppose, look, you need to get that move before you get recognised to get into the international squad. And you know, there's no point in being silly about it and whatever. You know, and someone said to me earlier, well, has he improved that much in 6 weeks? And we all know he hasn't, but his status has, and it's really about image and your status, and you know, and that's just the way it is. And you know, people know that if, you know, at the end of the day, if you can move from us, which is honest to God, you know, Cork City at the moment, guys working really hard, very good players. But if any of those guys can get a move to the highest level, of course, then it's going to open the doors for the likes of the Irish international team. So from that point of view, you know, it's just all round, I think it's a really positive thing.
Just looking ahead to Friday, UCD is never the easiest place to go to for some reason, is it?
This is probably our most difficult game out of the last 10. People might laugh at that, but every other match, as we keep saying, we take it week by week, and it's the old cliche, but you have no choice. But if you look at us, we have taken 20 out of 24 points since the break, since we lost to Bohemians, incidentally, when Lenny got injured. And the following week against Dundalk, we've turned around with 6 wins and 2 draws. Our 2 draws were against Athlone and Bray, 2 of the bottom 3 teams. And they were games that everyone expected us to take full points. We've gone away and we've beaten Pats, Rovers, Sligo, Drogheda, Derry. credible victories. So this is the most difficult game, because if it gets to the last game against Dundalk, there'll be no need to rise the boys for that game. There'll be no need to rise the boys for the last home game Friday week. This is the biggest game, because everyone assumes it's just going to be 3 points. Everyone assumes that UCD they're down at the moment, they're struggling. They've been struggling for a while, but they're still second last, they're not last. They still can survive. And our 2 games against them this year was a 1-0 away win up there early in the season. And when they came down here 2 months ago on TV, we were 1-down after 7 minutes. We got a penalty to bring us back into the match, and we scored the winner with 15 minutes to go. And never in my history have I ever remembered going up to UCD, smoking my cigar after 30 minutes of any match. They've caused us more problems, and it's not us. That's just UCD, because at the end of the day, their majority of their players are college fellas. They're all talented. Half the league is decorated with ex-UCD players, but they always have strong players coming through, talented. Yes, not experienced, but as I know from being involved even in UCC or even managing the Irish universities, college fellas are different. They're young, they're enthusiastic. They could lose 3 games, but still the next week doesn't matter. They go to play a game of ball. And from that point of view, we need to be very, very careful, and we need to play like we did against Strada right from the start of the game. And if you don't, then it becomes a difficult afternoon. And we've worked so hard, and congratulations to the lads for getting over the line and qualifying for Europe. But we've worked so hard to see, can we put the pressure on Dundalk? It would be scandalous if we went up on Friday night and didn't get a result. So that's why it's crucial for us that we must keep our feet in the ground and see, can we get it to the following week.
What's the injury situation like for Friday? Is Garrod likely to be fit?
Probably at this stage, no. Colin Healy is back from suspension. Danny Morrissey has gone in to get a check-up, because obviously there's been an issue with Danny this year. As you all know, he got injured very early in the start of the season, or start of pre-season. Has featured very little. Unfortunately, his injury hasn't settled down, and we're trying to get to a decision where we can get him right for the start of next season. So Danny looks like he won't be involved. Darren Denny has a foot injury, but other than that, I would hope that everyone else will be available for Friday night.
And is Robbie Hand close to full match fitness? Do you think it is fit?
Well, the difficulty for Rob is that, as I said, he was doing really well. Then he got the injury for 6 weeks, and then obviously he came back in against Limerick and got that fantastic goal that night. So he probably is about half an hour, and it's very difficult coming back after an injury to be on the bench, to train every day without having the matches. It's a hard one. And I suppose, look at last week, he came on for 5 or 6 minutes. The week before he didn't come on at all, so it is difficult. But certainly, Rob is one of those impact players that certainly with 20 minutes to go, 30 minutes to go, he's certainly ready to go in and do the job. And so from that point of view, he'd certainly be involved for Friday night.
Is there a fear factor with Friday night? You've got Bows coming on the following week. The last game against Dundalk will be there'll be so much hype about it itself that next Friday night, will there be a bit of fear factor? Will that bus be a nervous bus travel to Dublin?
Well, it's only a problem if you don't concentrate on the match. And you see, as I keep saying, we can't do anything about Dundalk. I have no control on Dundalk. Good luck to them, they're a fantastic team. The league is in their hands. And people are already talking about that game. It might never come to that. They could win the next 3 matches, and before we ever get up there, the league is over. We could lose Friday night and the league is over. So there's lots of scenarios. The only time it's difficult if you take your eye off the ball. and as I said, is that the 2 games of the last 8 that we've dropped points are at Lone and Bray, because people assumed that you're going to win it. And in this league, you do not win easy games. Every game is competitive, every game is tough. Actually, in Athlone, was a point gained and 2 points lost, because last kick of the game we cleared the ball off the line. So from that point of view, it's only if you look elsewhere, don't concentrate in the game. If we keep our feet down, work hard, treat UCD for what they are, how good they are. At the same time, we know we're a better team than them because the league shows that. But at the same time, we need to treat them with that respect. If we do that, then we're fine. If you start dreaming and wandering on, or start listening to supporters telling you about the match in 3 weeks' time, you're gone. That's what you can't afford to do. And I suppose, look, that's the beauty about sport at every level, where people take the eye off the ball. The underdog beats the favourites for that reason and whatever. So that's why it's is it nervy? It's not any nervy than any other week, to be honest with you, because we're in the position that I'm in. It's one of those ones, when you're close. It's every week there's always that bit of tension that any match coming up, you want to try and get the result, and there's always a certain bit of that. And in amongst the squad itself, but a bit of nervousness and an edge is no harm. That's what all sports people want. And but like it is an awkward match, and we have to deal with it properly.
The other big thing with playing up in Belfield is the crowd. So I suppose you'd be hoping for a big Cork crowd will travel to the match, because we've been there when you've seen it playing there before, in Cork City playing there, is that half a dozen people and there's no atmosphere, and the Cork are pushing for the match or whatever.
Yeah, and I suppose the big thing is early in the season, I think we had about 300 people with us. It would be fantastic if we could get a big support. I know we have lots of support up around the Dublin area, and hopefully come out. The fear is that people and our supporters are looking at a different match, are looking ahead and maybe saying, I won't go here, I might hold myself for another match, and that's which can happen. I'd encourage anyone that's on a half day that can get off work, certainly all our supporters around Dublin, to turn out, because a bit like Limerick, you go into Limerick, which is a fantastic stadium, 26,000 people, and Limerick turn up with 200 people. Thankfully on the night we had 800. And it created a fantastic atmosphere and get the team a lift. But certainly UCD is that type of venue because they don't have support, and sometimes it can lead you into sort of a false sense where you go to where there's little atmosphere and it seems more like a friendly match than a competitive match. So, but look, at the sport all year has been fantastic. I think our supporters realise how close we are, how well we've done. So I'm appealing that again, that huge numbers will come to UCD, and it's our second away match and last time away match, so hopefully they will, big numbers.
Sean, is there any updates on players re-signing or new signings?
We signed Johnny Dunleavy last week. We've signed about 10 or 11 back already, between guys around 2-year deals and stuff, and I would have spoken to nearly everyone, and there's no real issue in the sense that it's delicate, because you don't want to be talking to guys and you ask them to make sure they're ready for Friday night. So you're trying to balance it. So from that point of view, that I would see most of our players would be re-signed for next year. Regarding new players, that's ongoing and will continue to be ongoing, because the better players are in demand. And from our point of view, it's making sure that we can bring the right player into Cork who can blend into the type of personalities we have down here, the type of people we are, and that it will make a difference to us. So that's ongoing, and we've targeted a lot of players, and I spoke to quite a few fellas, and it's just really making sure to get the right fella. But it's at the moment you can't make any announcements anyway, because nothing will happen until the end of the season. So but there's a lot of work going on behind the scenes, as a lot of the other top clubs are doing as well. So it's just that I would be confident that we will have certainly new players coming in for next season.
Last Friday, John, you said that there was no reason why you couldn't, after selling why you couldn't sell on another few lads.
Yeah.
How important is it that the club's able to do that? And
did I say that I did? Yeah, I suppose. Look at. The one thing we have done here is that, and I said it Friday night, why would a guy with a successful Cork team want to play with another team in Ireland? Why wouldn't he want to play with it? When you walk out in front of 3,500, 4,000, 5,000 people. The other plus side is that we have a lot of young players from the city and county come through. Maybe not as many from Kerry and the other Munster counties, but certainly from Cork City and County. They can see that if they can progress through our system, get into the first team, they can see the opportunities are massive, because our history of selling players to England, Lenny was a brilliant one, because he went straight to the Premiership, which is just like winning the lotto from a player's point of view, that a fellow would come from your team straight to our Premiership team. But being realistic, we have lots of fellas like the Alan Brown with Preston. We have lots of guys that are certainly good enough for Championship, League One, and can make real full-time careers for themselves over there. We have lots of lads over there. If you look at Bennett, Mooney, Barry Murphy, all these lads who went over, Roy O'Donovan, Gamble, all those guys at the time. So we've had lots of success. So the opportunity for us is that we need to bring fellas through. The problem is people think that a guy playing with your under 18s or under 19s can walk into your first team. History shows that doesn't happen. You might get a gem who might just be able to make the step up, but physically, mentally, the demands, the step up is big. And you know, we've had very good under 19s over the last 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. You look at Lenny. He's only come through really into the first team this year. You look last year, I think he had four first team appearances. The year before, he hardly got any. So it's a bit like in any sport. When guys come out of 18, 19, it nearly takes them physically a year and a half to 2 years to develop, to play at the high standard. And it's playing at the high standard week in, week out. And if you remember, like the difficulty you have when English clubs come over, or they send the word over that they're coming over to watch one of your players, they throw the sprat. So they're not coming over to say they're going to sign him. They're saying they're coming over to watch him. And you look at Lenny. Like Lenny was in the news for 4 months before anyone put a bid in with him. Okay? So for a guy like him to hold his head, hold his composure, and the danger is, you see, it's like a lot of our young players come through. They're saying, "Oh, this gang, I watched him, that gang." No team in England, from my experience, will buy an under 19 player. They want to see them in the first team, and if they get into the first team and they see the setup in your club, if they think it's professional enough, which they do realise Cork is, then they'll take a chance on them. And for me, there's massive opportunities for young players coming through, but it's massive hard work. And if you walked into our dressing room and you spoke to our under 19s, every one of them think they're going to be playing with Man United. You know, and which I suppose that's the brilliance of youth. But there's a lot of hard work, a lot of knocks, and it's only when they come in training with the first team that they realise the standard, the gap is so big. You know, they're not used to the pace, and that's why, as I keep saying, is that, you know, I look around the local leagues, junior leagues, and you're always looking to see, is there a fella there that might, with the right environment, playing with the right players, training with, could he step up? And Mark O'Sullivan was a gem, but Mark O'Sullivan has been out there for 10 years, and I felt he had a chance. I must admit I was a bit concerned at the start of the year because of his age. I had no doubt in my head at 22, 23, 24, 25, he was a serious player. He was got a lot older. He wasn't as quick as he was, but I knew that he would do everything in his power to make it. He's been fantastic. But it's not as if there's loads of them out there. I know that league inside out. I know the juniors leagues inside out. People say this, but it's the step up in the pace between, to be a top team. I'm not talking about being a first division team playing lower level Premier League, but a team that wants to win trophies and play in Europe every year. You have to be a top player. But the opportunities for every young player in Cork is fantastic, and if they get the right advice, and if sometimes maybe people are advising if they stayed out of it, maybe parents, whatever, stayed out of it, and let the young fellas develop, might be the better option. And thankfully for young Lennon, if he rushed into a decision, he could have been in Bournemouth 4 months ago, but he held tough because he had intelligence. He was being advised to hold tough, that a bigger opportunity would come for him, and it did. And
the fact that you were able to move Lennon on, the history of Cork moving players on is obviously a strong card whenever you come to the negotiating table with other players when you want to bring them in.
Difficult one to answer, because if I'm answering or giving advice to a young player that's involved in Cork at the moment, I'm giving him what I believe is my honest opinion. But sometimes people don't want to hear that. They want to hear the story that someone else is telling them, which is pie in the sky stuff. And when I advise our under 19s that the quickest opportunity and best opportunity for them is to come into our first team, get themselves established, and then they'll get their move if they're good enough. A lot of times they're listening to parents, people from the outside, agents who only have interest in collecting a few bob and promising this, that and the other thing. And that's why so many kids just fall away and things don't work out for them, because they're told a pea and a poke. Whereas when the real honest stuff is said to them, they don't want to listen to it. That's a hard call, very difficult. I don't know myself. I don't have any young fella that was ever that. I don't have any young fella anyway. But But it can be difficult, I'm sure, parents with young fellas at 17, 18, and they're at that age. There's so many good players, and what people don't realise is coming out of youth football, going into men's football, it's totally different. It's totally different, and it's different. Everything changes. You know, they come out of being protected in school, to going to maybe college, going to work. Different, you know, it's a different environment, and you know, it's like I look at our under 19s over the last number of years. We've had fantastic players, but at under 19 level, and they're all the same age. So when you step out and you go training with Colin Healy, who's played at the top level in England, played with Ireland. You know, I trained with Dan Murray, who's won 3 league championships. You know what I mean? And you have the diversity between players who are 19 and players who are 35. And you're playing with hardened professionals, and you're playing with guys who come in every morning into the ground outside at 8:30 in the morning, and they train and they're in the gym afterwards. This is a side of it that a lot of young players don't understand. They just think it's about turning on the pitch and they'll be skillful enough or they'll be good enough. It's totally different than that, and that's why we bring a lot of the 19s in to show them really how tough it is, or show them the standard. And then when they come in, they realise when they come into the training session they can't get a kick of the ball, or you know, because the pace of the game, and you know, but I suppose it's the old downside for me that a lot of kids get bad advice, and if they listen to people who knew the game, who were genuinely interested in looking after their proper welfare, and as I said, it's like young Lennon, like when I was asked one night by one of the supporters, you know, were we a selling club or was it disappointing to see him go? I says, how could you not be privileged to see a guy leaving Cork City and go to Hull? That's an absolute honour for the club, and that to me is sort of, that's what we want to be seen as, a club that promotes our best players to the top level, and wish them good luck after that.
Are you looking to this Friday night? You're looking to your experienced players to bring you through on Friday night. Are you going to be saying something special before the match to your senior players and saying, listen lads, you really need to protect these guys and you need to keep these guys going? Are you going? What are you going to be? What's going to be your words of wisdom?
Well, I, to be honest, there's no real. I suppose a lot of people think there's loads of secrets behind the doors in the dressing rooms, and I don't know. To me, there's not. It's really about, you know, I suppose you train the lads up in a certain way to believe in themselves, to go out and deliver. We have a great mixture of young players, experienced players, and there's a great, you know, bond between them. But it's the cliche. You just have to keep your focus. You keep your feet in the ground. There's no magic words for me going to make any difference. The lads are going to have to go out and perform like they've done all year. You know, and just. Is
that an advantage that you have experience and youth players? You have the young and the old fellas playing on the squad at the moment.
Well, it is, because obviously you've all the guys like McNulty, Dan, Healers, John O'Flynn, you've Liam, those guys who've won leagues and who've played around a long time. So obviously they've been in situations where they've played in big matches. Then they have the younger fellas coming in who see no danger, which is brilliant. You know, like Gary Buckley and young Johnny Dunleavy and Josh and John Cabot, all the Dave O'Leary. Those guys are full of enthusiasm because they've never seen any danger and they think they're going to win every week. You know, if it was only that simple. So yeah, so it is. But at the same time, look, they do know, to be fair to them as a group, that when they perform and play well together and they all work hard, they do realise they're a seriously good side, and that's what they've proven this year. And it's just for me to make sure that we don't lose our focus and that we can still keep the pressure on and just see, can we just see that maybe if we keep winning, will Dundalk slip up and bring it to the last game of the season? And look, as I keep saying to you, before the final third of game started, we were 6 points off Dundalk. They'd come down and beaten us. We were given no chance. Dundalk's name was on the title, and all of a sudden, 3 games to go, we're level on points. Although they do have a game in hand, we're level on points, which is an incredible achievement for the lads to get 20 out of 24 points. So let's just hope we can get another 3 on Friday night and just keep the pressure on.
Thanks.